Is that fair? I've seen a few football hooligans at an England football game who cause a lot of disruption to businesses. They overdrink. They're just a nuisance on the trains. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to celebrate your football matches, which is a huge thing for English culture. And so similarly with Caribbean people, Trinidad and Tobago people, it's not fair that we say to their whole culture, you cannot have this huge day of celebration of your music and everything. Every year, loud and messy carnival goers take to the streets of West London for the annual Notting Hill Gate Carnival. The girls on in the sparkly bikinis, on the floats, on the procession, all of the fanfare, the music, the steel drums, it was originally intended to be a celebration of Caribbean culture, specifically Trinidad and Tobago. But it has since evolved into a hub for SA against women, stabbings, acid attacks, looting, theft, violence, damage to local buildings, you name it. Hungry, desperate men to catch a wine, and for women without fathers or a faith-based community to bust a wine. I thank the Lord that my only ever time going to Notting Hill Carnival was with my previous church to evangelize people to come back to church. The event was actually almost about to be cancelled because of a lack of funding, and I thought our prayers had been answered. I thought, finally, my goodness, us in the neighborhood watch. I've been called a black Karen. That's not fair. I actually am not involved in my local neighborhood watch. I'm just an involved member of the community. What? Do you want litter all throughout the streets of West London? No, thank God I'm Southwest, okay? But it's annoying for everyone. You don't need to be an official registered member of the neighborhood watch, those freaking meerkats you see everywhere, in order for you to speak up and say, this is not on. The event organisers of Notting Hill Carnival leaked, in a leaked letter, I think they leaked it, to the culture secretary, Lisa Nandy, that the event was at risk of even going ahead because of a lack of funding. It was all at risk, right? And what type of funding do you think you need? It's like a free street party. People are just rolling through. People bring in their own music. Communities and youth groups, they bring in their own steel drums. It's not the government paying for the floats. No, the reason they needed £1 million, okay, which was what was raised by different city councils, is because the damage to local buildings and businesses. Women will be SA'd, so they need extra police measures and police security. Stabbings, acid attacks, crime, looting, you name it. But instead of cancelling the event organisers were just no, we just need the funding. Imagine that pitch on Dragon's Den. Imagine. Hello, Dragons. Women will be SA'd. There'll be stabbings. There were 3 or 4 last year or something. No, there were more than that. The fatal stabbings were 2 or 3, but then there were more than that. Women will be SA'd. There'll be stabbings, looting, violence. There'll be acid attacks. There'll be damage to local buildings and businesses. I'm looking for a £100,000 investment for 20% equity. With a straight face. They'll say that with the event organisers are so are you in? And miraculously, the Dragons were in. Which Dragons put in their investment? It was a £1 million investment. It was Westminster City Council, Kensington and Chelsea Council, and City Hall. It brings in millions of pounds of the economy. The economy. Freaking capitalist. Wow. And it must have been a compelling pitch. It must have been a lucrative investment. Normally, when there are loads of people that flood into a community, it's an exciting day for businesses. It's a prime day for sales, right? It's exciting. Oh, people are coming in. There's going to be more sales. No, not in the case of Notting Hill Carnival. Businesses, they lock up shop. They plaster the boards. I remember when I was there with my church, I was like, why are all the windows boarded up and the doors locked? And it looks like a cage fight was about to happen. I'm like, oh, because these are not people you want to sell to. These are not the type of people that probably have any intention of respecting your business and respecting your trade. That was my first ever time. I think I was a teenager. The first ever time I was like, oh, I didn't know. Wow. I didn't know it was a carnival or a cage fight. Every single shop, they close up. They close up in like the West London area. So is that Caribbean culture? Is it fair to say the violence and the crime is a part of the Caribbean culture, and is the reason why Notting Hill shouldn't go ahead and they should not have had the investment? No, of course not. But let me know what you think, actually, in the comment section. Give this video a big thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, said Notting Hill Carnival is renowned across the world with this community-led celebration of Caribbean history and culture, attracting Londoners and visitors of all backgrounds to West London. La-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la, generating almost £400 million for our economy. La-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la, we need safety measures to be introduced. La-di-la-di-la-di-la, as identified in an independent review earlier this year. Isn't that funny that he's like, due to an independent review in the textbook and the C-section of the Alexander the whatever. What? We know the stabbings happen. There are fatal stabbings every year at this point. And it's like, to be honest, I don't know if it's a heightened security measure that you need for Carnival, because it is just every day in London at this point. You know, stabbings upon stabbings upon stabbings, and Sadiq Khan doesn't do nearly enough about it. And so now we're expecting him, Sadiq Khan, to be responsible, in charge of heightening security measures at Notting Hill Carnival, where there are known to be more fatal and non-fatal stabbings than other days in London. He already doesn't do his job every other day of the year. Why are we listening to anything he has to say? Why is he is approving of this event, and he's, you know, helped pitch for the funding of City Hall and whatever, all these other city councils. But it's not the funding that's the problem. It's the failure to enforce the law. It is not fair on an entire ethnicity, an entire people group, the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago people, that we suspend the event altogether. I know a lot of people in like GB News and on the right, they're just like, we should cancel the event. But is that fair? Is that fair? I've seen a few football hooligans at an England football game who cause a lot of disruption to businesses. They overdrink. They're just a nuisance on the trains. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to celebrate your football matches, which is a huge thing for English culture. Just because, you know, a few drunkards tear up the place and a few people take it too far and overdrink, that's not fair on English culture. And so similarly with Caribbean people, Trinidad and Tobago people, it's not fair that we say to their whole culture, you cannot have this huge day of celebration of your music and everything. They've come, especially when out of all of the cultures in the UK, they were the ones who forcefully came. It's not like the Pakistanis who are in East London blocking the roads, celebrating their Independence Day from Britain, in Britain, which I found to be bizarre. Caribbeans came here by force. It was the Windrush generation. So this is their culture. They should be allowed to celebrate it. Just the government needs to do more to enforce safety measures, which they are not doing any other day of the week. So I definitely do not trust them to do over the weekend. Stay at home. If you don't even think about traveling to the West London area this weekend, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. And I don't want to hear, oh, it brings in hundreds of millions of pounds to the economy. Share Maximum doesn't care. Do you think Share Maximum cares? Or do you think her 3-year-old daughter cares? Which one? Either her or her 3-year-old daughter, who will never see her again, because in last year's carnival, she was unalived via stabbing. Honestly, people who just don't think this through, they kind of remind me of witches. You're no better than a witch. If you're like, okay, so what? And I still want to go to carnival and have fun. You kind of remind me of a witch, because you're willing for there to be a human sacrifice every year at carnival so that you can have your fun. For personal gain, you're willing for other people to be brutally attacked. You're not even thinking through how lazy, how just inhumane of you. Oh yeah, but most people there are other people who have fun, and other people have a good time. It's just a few people. Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean you're okay with it happening so long as other people can have fun? Or you just see it as a necessary inevitability? You're a witch. If you don't think this through because you don't know, whatever, you're selfish and you're a witch. That's how I see it. That's my opinion. What needs to be done, the basic thought that everyone should have here is, yes, they can have their culture, but two, Sadiq Khan and the Met Police need to do a lot more to enforce safety measures. And there are a few. Least of all, the easiest one. I'll start with the easiest one to enforce. No police officers dancing at Carnival. And I cannot emphasize this enough. I get that it's ironic. I get that it's funny. Oh, police officers dancing with the carnival goers. Ha ha ha. Normally they're pigs. Normally, whoa, look at this. Like, they're actually getting along with civilians. Like, this is like the only time of the year we like each other and kumbaya. No. It is imperative for securing the general safety of the public and the community. The police officers maintain an intimidating police presence. No criminal on planet Earth should ever look at a police officer and think, yeah, I could probably get away with a stab. Like, he probably is not, I could probably get away with this little, if I just stab this person, I rob this. No criminal should ever be emboldened to commit crime because they see a police officer dancing like this. Now, number 2 gets a lot of controversy, but it's necessary. Police need to increase stop and search. Unfortunately, for Notting Hill Carnival, literally everyone is black, so you cannot be accused of racial profiling because literally most people at Notting Hill Carnival are black. You cannot be accused of it because they're just everywhere, right? Barely any white people, although you might see Adele again, who knows. I loved it. I liked it. I didn't love it. It was just like, okay, all right. It's kind of like when I see a white girl who does braids. I'm like, if you want, it's like, doesn't look the best, but sure. Yeah, stop and search. You need to increase stop and search. It needs to be intimidating. If you see a police officer, you should feel fear. You should feel fear again of the authorities. Number 3, stop policing the police. Stop doing this. In fact, PC Rick Pryor spoke up about this earlier this year before he was sacked. He was chair of the Police Federation, sacked for speaking out on the concerns of some 30,000 people who voted him in, when he said, police officers are actually hesitant to enforce the law with minorities out of the fears of being labelled a racist. But this police officers are literally saying, we are being prevented from doing our jobs because we don't want to be called racist. We all know Notting Hill Carnival needs more police. Is that racist? Is that racist because of this celebration of Caribbean culture? That we know that we have to increase more police measures? Sadiq Khan is doing this, by the way. Is Sadiq Khan racist? More security at a predominantly black event. Is that racist? Or is that just saying, actually, we know that in this area, at this time of year, there's going to be more crime. So we're going to increase stop and search for everyone. Is that racist, or is that just being strategic? It's not fair that some of the most experienced police officers like PC Rick Pryor are suffocated and are muzzled for speaking out on how they can actually improve the police force and the security of innocent civilian populations who countlessly fall victim to unprovoked stabbings. Or provoked, who knows? Gang violence is rife as well. So it's not fair. I wonder how many people at Notting Hill in previous years have been injured or fatally injured that a police officer could have intercepted, but they held back because they didn't want to stop and search that black guy 20 minutes before he carried out an attack. He looked suspicious, hoodie, balaclava, whatever, but didn't want to conduct the stop and search. I don't think it's fair to Caribbeans that we cancel their entire culture. What is fair is that the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who does nothing to combat rising crime in the city, and when is questioned on this and his governing failures, hides behind his Asian and Islamic identity, protected minority characteristics, steps down. He needs to step down, and we need an actual mayor who's going to be tough on crime. It's not Sadiq. There are a few other candidates out there. I liked Ant Middleton for a while. I don't know. I need to think more on that one. Ant Middleton seemed tough. I think Ant Middleton is someone where I'm like, if I was in a room with Ant Middleton, I could trust him with my life. He is so scary. I don't know if you watched him on SAS Who Dares Win. He was running for mayor, but I think Reform switched him out for another female Muslim candidate, because in order to win London, you kind of have to win over the Muslims. And I don't think Ant Middleton was going to do that, you know, middle-aged white man. I just didn't know. I just didn't know. London has become so ethnically diverse, which means just no white people, that's all that means, that it didn't seem strategic. It didn't seem like the wise idea for the Reform Party to have Ant Middleton. So, I don't know, he seemed like a good candidate. He did seem like someone I think that would really make London safe again. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. It's not actually an episode, it's just a short clip today. I haven't had as much time to produce an entire podcast episode these last 2-3 weeks, but hopefully we'll get back into the loop. It's summer, so loads of things are happening. But yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.